Betrayed on New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve was supposed to be a time of celebration, fireworks, champagne, whispered resolutions, and fresh hope for the months ahead. But for me, it marked the end of a life I had built on fragile trust, the beginning of a long, hollow silence that would echo through every part of my being. I didn't know it that night, but my entire world had been quietly unraveling behind my back. My name is Elias, and this is the story of how I found out my wife had been lying to me for months, and how everything came crashing down in a single night in Charleston, South Carolina. Let me rewind. Trust is something I've always struggled with. Not because I want to, but because life has taught me to be cautious. You get burned enough times, and you start checking for smoke before you even strike the match. My last 2 relationships had ended in betrayal. Both times, the women I had loved and trusted had rekindled flames with their exes. Both times, I had been blindsided, told I was paranoid, insecure, overthinking things, only to discover later that my instincts were spot on. So when I met Kasia, I carried that baggage with me, tightly zipped, locked, but never truly forgotten. She was warm, charming, the kind of woman who drew people in effortlessly. We met at a community volunteer event in Asheville, a dog rescue, actually, and our bond was instant. She was passionate, curious, and loved animals. I remember thinking, finally, someone different. Kasia had an ex named Troy. The name came up a few times in passing, and I never liked the tone it carried. She'd say they were like family, but also complicated. She insisted they were only friends, but something about the way her eyes darted when she said his name, or the way she'd grow quiet after a call with him stirred a kind of instinctual unease in me. I never accused her of anything, but the alarm bells were hard to silence. Then came last summer. Troy visited Charleston for work, and Kasia told me they were planning to meet for coffee. I didn't love the idea, but I also didn't want to be controlling. I told her it was fine, but asked if she could text me afterward just to check in. She never did. When I called later that evening, she didn't pick up. She texted back at midnight saying she had fallen asleep early. Something about it didn't feel right. When I asked her about it the next morning, she brushed it off, called me paranoid. Said I was creating problems where there were none. That I needed to let go of my past. I suggested we try couples counseling, just once, just to work through the baggage I was clearly bringing into our relationship. She said therapy was for people on the brink of divorce, not for happy couples. Maybe I should have seen that as a red flag. But love has a funny way of silencing your better judgment. We got married 3 months later in a small ceremony by the beach. Just close friends, immediate family, and our dog, Milo, standing between us with a tiny bow tie. It was supposed to be the start of something new. But here's the thing no one tells you about betrayal: it never knocks. It slips through the cracks, disguised as familiarity, until one day it's just there, staring you in the face. Fast forward to this past week. Kasia told me she was going on a yoga retreat in Savannah, just for the weekend. A friend from her old studio had invited her. I didn't question it. I had learned to suppress my suspicions, to not smother the person I loved with doubts. I even encouraged her, said it would be good for her to unwind. But on the morning she was supposed to leave, something felt off. Her energy was too calm, too measured, like she'd rehearsed it. I brushed it off, again, and helped load her car. She hugged me tight, kissed me on the forehead, and told me to do something fun while she was gone. That night, I stayed home with Milo, watching old movies and sipping whiskey. I don't know what made me do it. Call it intuition, fate, whatever you want, but I picked up her iPad to queue up a film, and that's when I saw it. A notification. A preview of a message from someone named T. My heart sank. The thread was still open. She hadn't logged out. I know I shouldn't have read it. But I did. The messages weren't just friendly. They weren't just flirty. They were specific. Detailed plans? Meet at a cabin near Blue Ridge Lake. No phones, no interruptions, just us. One message read. Another talked about how she had told me it was a yoga retreat, and how I wouldn't suspect a thing. It felt like I was watching a movie, except I was the fool in the background, oblivious. I scrolled. I saw her call him. The one that got away. I saw her write that she couldn't keep pretending anymore. My legs went cold. I sat there, frozen, while the seconds stretched into minutes. Kasia wasn't in Savannah. She wasn't on a retreat. She was with Troy, in Georgia, pretending to be someone she wasn't. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I just sat in the quiet of our home, Milo curled beside me, as fireworks exploded in the distance outside the window. People were celebrating. Toasting to love, to beginnings, to the promise of a new year. And I was sitting alone, piecing together a life that had never been real. The next morning, I packed a bag. I couldn't stay. I couldn't look at the walls we had painted together or the bed where she whispered her vows. I booked a rental apartment in Columbia, a few hours away, and started preparing to leave. But then came the twist I didn't expect. Kasia came home early. I had expected her the next evening, but she walked through the door mid-afternoon, suitcase in hand, wearing the same clothes she'd left in. She looked surprised to see me still there. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just asked her how her retreat had gone. She faltered. Said it was peaceful. Said she really needed the time. When I mentioned the iPad and what I'd seen, her face went pale. She didn't deny it. Didn't even try. She just sat down and stared at the floor. What she said next still echoes in my mind. She blamed me. She said my suspicions and insecurities had pushed her away. That she had felt like the villain in our marriage. That she craved validation, attention, things she claimed I stopped giving her. I wanted to scream. I wanted to remind her of the therapy I had asked for. The space I had given her. The trust one had offered despite every reason not to. But I didn't. Because I realized something in that moment, nothing I said would matter. She had already chosen her path. Long before she packed her bag. Long before we said, I do. The final blow came 2 days later. As I was preparing to leave, I took Milo to the vet for a checkup before our road trip. He had been acting tired, sluggish. I thought maybe he was just picking up on my stress. The vet gave me news I wasn't prepared for. Milo had a late-stage heart condition. There wasn't much they could do. He might have weeks, maybe a month. Traveling could worsen it. Leaving would stress him. The best thing for him was stability, comfort, a familiar home. I couldn't take him with me. So I made the most painful decision of all. I left him with her. With Kasia. She didn't deserve him, but he deserved peace. And I couldn't be selfish. Not with him. I left Charleston with nothing but a duffel bag, a broken heart, and silence. The silence of a life that had ended not with a scream, but with a slow, quiet betrayal. And now I'm here. Alone, rebuilding. I've started therapy, real therapy, just for me. I'm learning how to separate my instincts from my fears, how to trust myself again. I've reconnected with old friends. Picked up photography. Begun journaling. Every so often, I drive back down to Charleston, park across the street, and wait for Milo's walks. I just want to see him. Know he's okay. He always seems happy. And that's enough for now. As for Kasia, I don't know what became of her and Troy. Maybe it fizzled. Maybe it thrived. But that's no longer my concern. The truth is, betrayal doesn't end you. It just empties the version of you that believed in something false. And in that space, you have the chance to rebuild something stronger, quieter, truer. This new year didn't bring joy. But maybe it brought clarity. And sometimes, that's the first step to healing.
Man, you didn't deserve that kind of betrayal. You gave her trust and space, she broke both. Glad you got out.
Not excusing her, but you admitted to being paranoid from the start. Maybe the relationship was already cracked before she cheated.
This is heartbreaking, but maybe it's better you found out early. 6 months in is better than 6 years.